welcome to another episode of The Ronny Phillip Show. I'm your host, Ronny Phillip, with the Kingly Group at Keller Williams Realty, and also with Kingly Acquisitions, where we buy apartment buildings. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate here in Texas, give me a call. I'd love to help you out anywhere I can. And if you're watching this video, make sure you give this a thumbs up, give me some hearts, leave me some comments, so that way we know who's watching. Also, we're gonna have a Q&A at the end, so make sure you tune in as well, and we can answer questions on there. So today, I have one of the most influential and inspiring people I've ever had the chance to become friends with. Josh DeShong with Josh DeShong Real Estate and Myers, the Home Buyers.
There you go. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Dude, I'm so excited for you to be on the show, man.
Hey, I'm happy to be on here. I gotta give Austin Good a run for his money, right?
Yeah. So if you're watching this, Austin, we're gonna try to beat you this time.
Look, there's Nick. All right, cool.
Okay, so Josh, please give a quick introduction about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Josh DeShong. I've been in real estate for 12 years. I am the, I would say team leader, but I guess JT is kind of the team leader of Josh DeShong Real Estate. So I really don't do much. I run an awesome team of amazing people. We sell houses and buy houses as well.
Awesome, man. And tell me what you did last year with Josh DeShong Real Estate, like your stats.
Yeah, so we actually got this number wrong. I got this wrong. I gave you the incorrect number. My fault.
Only $9 million off.
Yeah, so we did $164 million in sales last year. We did over 200 acquisitions of properties in North Texas, Houston, and Ohio.
Wow, awesome, man. And what got you started in real estate, and when did you start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I started in real estate. So actually, what happened was I was working for my father, who was diagnosed with cancer at the time, and he had me go through Dallas Business Journals to look for companies to cold call on because we sold office furniture, and I opened it up one day and it was talking about residential real estate, and I said, that's what I'm going to do. That's it. Wow. And so the rest is history. I went to Champions Real Estate School and signed up for my classes the following week, and the day I turned 18, I was able to be licensed.
So you got licensed at 18 years old? At
18, yeah.
Wow. And you said, what did you do before you got into real estate? Okay,
so great question. It's actually funny. I had quite a few jobs. I worked probably 11 or 12 jobs. We've actually added this up. I had most of the jobs that I had, though, I had simultaneously with other positions. So I did everything from car audio installation, sales at Best Buy. I was a Geek Squad agent. I still say agent at Best Buy. I was tech savvy, so I worked at a couple different tech style environments. I did printer repair at one point. I mean, I've done all kinds of things. And I was a host at a restaurant.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All before you were 18?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So, obviously you got into real estate when you're 18. Did you go to college?
I went in one door and out the other. So I like to tell everybody I graduated early, but I actually got my GED. So I guess I did graduate early, but immediately after getting my GED, I enrolled in college, and I went to some classes. My problem was, if I didn't find the subject interesting, I'd fall asleep. Yeah. And so it was a constant struggle of trying to decide which classes I should drop and which ones I should take. All the fun ones, I kept on going with, but the boring ones, it was done. I had to drop them multiple times. So
wow, that kind of sounds like me when I was in college. So you dropped out, and do you think college is necessary for success, especially as a businessman?
Okay, so I think a lot of young people don't have a good idea what they really want to do, what they really want to accomplish. So I think in that instance, yes, college makes a ton of sense. A lot of people have asked if, I have a daughter, if it's important for me that she goes to college, and it's really not. It really depends on what she wants to do. If she wants to be, a scientist, then it's important to me for her to go to college, right? But it depends who she is as a person. I like learning the skill of a trade, right? So real estate, I meet so many guys who have degrees in real estate finance, MBAs, but they really don't know how to apply any of that actual knowledge. So I think that's where the disconnect with college is they don't teach you how to apply stuff. They just teach you baseline measurements of what happens.
Yeah, and when you got into real estate, why did you choose that out of all the other industries you could have got into?
So, to be very honest, it was a total fluke. Had I been looking at a different Dallas Business Journal that was talking about a different industry, I probably would have done that. Oh. So there was no inspiration telling me I'm meant to sell real estate. There wasn't.
Wow.
And I wish I could say there was.
So what did the beginning of your career look like?
That was a lot of fun. So the beginning of my career, I was clueless. At the time when I got in real estate, I was absolutely probably the youngest person in real estate in our area. And there wasn't a lot of young people going towards that industry. So it was scary. I passed my real estate test, and I remember thinking to myself, I still don't know what earnest money is.
Yeah.
So I remember going just like, well, how am I going to do this? But what I did was quickly within 30 days of getting licensed, somebody said call expired listings. So I focused 100% of my time on trying to generate business. That was definitely the key for me, was making sure my time was spent getting in front of people rather than spent on doing research or learning about something. I learn best by doing. Yeah. So you can teach me something all day long, but if I'm not actually applying it, it's going in one ear and out the other. So I have to get out there and actually do stuff to really understand it. So.
Yeah, and I remember when we talked when I first got into real estate, and you're telling me about your daily schedule.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
So back then, my daily schedule, I would get to the office anywhere from 7:30 to 8. I would start dialing my first. So in the very beginning, it was actually I was door knocking. I would come in early. I would compile the list of people I was going to door knock, and then I would go to whitepages.com and reverse look up every single expired listings phone number, and I would call them on the way to door knock. But at the time, I had such a baby face. Door knocking, I think everybody thought I was there to sell a vacuum. Yeah. And door knocking didn't work really well for me. So I decided, okay, instead I'm just going to stay in the office. I'm going to focus 100% of my time to making outbound dials. And that was before auto dialers and all these things, Vulcan 7, were around. And I actually had 2 phones on my desk, and I would dial from 2 phones simultaneously, and I would talk to whoever would answer the phone. So, wow. Yeah. And I did that. And did that in a combination of research up until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night for years. I did that.
Every day?
Every day. Day in, day out. It was a bit of a sacrifice.
Yeah, that's crazy. And how many homes did you sell your first year?
First year, I sold probably, I want to say around 22, 23. Second year, we stepped it up quite a bit. Did about $10 million in sales the second year.
Yeah, because I remember you telling me your first 2 years in real estate, you did over 100 transactions. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is incredible. And that jump, because real estate's a long game. You're cold calling day in, day out. You're nurturing these people. It's not like you call the first time and you get a listing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. You're exactly right. Everybody's going for that low-hanging fruit, the instant gratification, where they're going to feel like they did a good job immediately. But so much of our business over the years came from, 6-month follow-up, a year follow-up. We had clients that we followed up with for 3 years before they ever actually did a transaction with us.
Oh.
Yeah, so it can definitely be a long game.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy. And I remember you telling me one story. You went on a listing appointment, and the lady thought you were...
Oh, yeah. So, I got so good at cold calling, I think I made myself sound much older. And so when I went to, I went on an appointment once.
Yeah.
And I knock on the door. I'm in a Men's Warehouse, $260 suit. Knock on the door. I'm nervous. I'm at this point, the first couple of years in the business, I was nervous on every listing appointment. And the lady opened the door, and she's like, "Hi, how are you?" And I introduced myself, and she's like, "Come on in." And she was like, "John," or I forget his name. "We'll be out in just a second." I was like, "Great." And next thing I know, her son comes out of a bedroom, and he walks over to his mom, and I hear him whisper, "I have no idea who that is." And his mom actually thought I was there to hang out with him. She thought I was one of his friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was awkward. I didn't get the listing.
Oh, no.
Mm-mm.
That's probably one that I remember. He told me that the first time we ever talked.
Yeah, that was definitely a challenge I had to overcome.
Yeah, that's funny, man. And so when you're team building, like the first 3 years, what did that look like? What challenges did you have as you were growing, during the beginning of your career?
So, oh man, I had a lot of challenges. So, being young and asking people to trust me with their largest investment, that was absolutely a challenge, I guess, we had. Mm-hmm. Hiring, I didn't know how to hire in what order. I didn't know how to lead. I didn't know how to manage. I didn't know how to set expectations. I'm still learning about all of those things. So, if I knew then what I know now, would be light years ahead of where we stand today, just because hiring, leading, the order for which you should hire. A lot of people go out and they say, "I want to start a team," and they go, "Oh, I'm going to find a buyer's agent, and I'll be the listing agent." First hire you make is an admin. You never hire an agent first. You never hire an agent unless you're willing to give up all of your money to make sure that person can eat. You have to be willing to make the sacrifice of yourself for somebody else, because that person's sacrificing their opportunity to make sure that you both have an opportunity together. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And whenever you're hiring and different things like that, like what did you look for back then, versus now?
So back then I didn't know what to look for.
Yeah. So
I hired based on who I liked or who I thought had potential. But, I will say, I think everybody has potential in various areas, but I didn't know how to properly place that person in that particular role. So, for example, if you looked at somebody like me, I was really good on the phones. So that's what I should have been doing. I would have been a horrible admin. But a lot of the people that maybe I would hire, I would put in the wrong seats, right? Mm-hmm. And so they may be a rock star at one thing, but I didn't know because I hired them for something else. And that was tough. That was really tough. And it's still tough.
Yeah, I mean, back then, did you have, like, the DISC assessment?
Yeah, so we had the DISC. The DISC was just a piece of paper you filled out, and then you had to grade it and all this. And
Yeah. And so during that time, you started a different company. At that time, it was called DFW Home Buyers, and now it's Myers the Home Buyers. Yep. So talk to me a little about why you started that. You're already very successful with your residential team, the number one agent in our office, and we sell, what, 1.6 billion?
Something like that.
Something like that. A huge number. But you started a different business, and you started doing wholesaling before it was cool. So tell me why you decided to do that.
So in 2012, we started DFW Home Buyers. The big game changer for me was I had done a relatively decent job building a team, and I'm not going to say it was on autopilot, but it was definitely did not require the same time, energy, and effort in 2012 as it did in even 2011. So in the late 2012, I bought my first investment property, and I flipped that property. I did well with it. I bought another house that actually I still live in to this day. That was also a flip. And I just really liked it. I liked the idea of it. I liked that how well it went and worked with our team. And it gave me the ability to kind of add a little vertical integration into my vision, my long-term vision. So that's effectively what started it. You know, with those properties, we did rentals, flips, wholesale. We wholetailed some of our properties, which for those of you that don't know, wholesale is we buy a property, we may do clean out, and then we'll put it on the market and list it. So we had quite a few different strategies at the time, and over the years we've refined our business model substantially.
Yeah, and what did you do as far as acquisitions last year with Myers?
So we did actually over 200 transactions with Myers, the home buyers. So DFW Home Buyers name change to Myers, the home buyers, hence the reason I have Myers on my shirt. And this year we will easily break 400 units. My goal is 5, so we'll see. Yeah. And
piggybacking to, how many homes did you sell last year on your residential side?
600.
Wow. So that's a lot of transactions.
Yeah.
So with Myers, there's a lot of different wholesalers out there. What sets y'all apart?
Oh, absolutely. So a couple things. One is we source really good opportunities. We don't allow wholesaling of wholesales. So, for example, if a wholesaler comes to us and they want to send our deals out, we don't do that. We don't. It just dilutes it, and everybody starts tacking on a percentage or something like that. Where everybody at Myers everybody's licensed, so it's not just hey, run wild and go find properties. We have a certain amount of rules that we have to follow, and we're pretty strict. But being strict allows us to make sure we give our investors the best possible deals. It allows that everything is done the exact same way every single time. We're just easy to deal with. We're just really easy to deal with.
Yeah, and you have a pretty monstrous team over there on that side. How many people you have on the Myers side?
So we have a Houston office and we have a Dallas office. Between the two, we're at 17, 18 now, and we're going to be between all of our offices. We have an office in Dallas, which is our main office. We have Houston and Columbus, Ohio, and we're opening another office this year. We're going to add 60 people this year.
Wow.
To our company, yeah.
With the Myers or both total?
All Myers and JDRE throughout various markets.
What's the 4th location?
I can't say yet.
Not yet.
Can't say yet.
But he will let us know pretty soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You'll see it all over my Facebook.
Is it in Texas?
Can't say.
It's in Texas. But anyways, I mean, you're constantly expanding. So talk to me about like your mindset on, when it comes to like building these teams, because you have 2 very well-oiled machines. How do you like balance it all?
Great question. I'm still trying to figure that out. No, I mean, through people. There's certain people that run my various divisions, and those guys they get all the credit because they keep everything going. They help everything grow. JT, Brance, JD, they're in it every day, and they're effectively just extensions of myself.
Yeah.
So that without them, it would be I wouldn't have any balance in my life.
Okay, awesome, man. And what do you think is the best real estate investment?
The highest and best use for land is cemeteries. But
wow, I've never heard of that on my show yet. So
well, I can't say that I know anything about cemeteries. So let's rewind. I prefer anything that has to do with housing. So single family apartments, development, anything that has to do with housing, I understand. If it's outside of the housing realm, I know some guys that do a lot of industrial. Mm-hmm. Based on the numbers I'm looking at, the tenant leases, industrial makes a lot of sense too. I just don't know it. So I stick with anything housing.
So do you prefer single family or multifamily?
It's a great question. Depends on the strategy, depends on the market, but typically I would prefer multifamily. It's getting more and more competitive and harder to find deals. So if I could pick between the two, multifamily, because you can knock a lot more out in a shorter swing.
Yeah.
So.
And let's see. We all have people we admire in our career. Mm-hmm. Who are the people that inspire you?
I think I would have to give some typical canned answers for that. I would have to say people like, I used to probably even a year ago, I didn't like Elon Musk that much. I didn't think he was that great because, his company never really turned a profit. But then I started paying more attention to how revolutionary of a person he is and how he does not have limits on his desires and what he wants, and he thinks with no box. A lot of people say, think in the box, think out of the box. There is no box when it comes to Elon Musk. So I look at Elon, and then I've got, Russell Rhodes, the Rhodes team, phenomenal real estate agent for a phenomenal company. He's been very inspirational and helped break down some of my ideas so that I could more easily digest it, I guess. People like that. Anybody who's doing big things, I look up to. Anybody who's out there putting what they have on the line and they're risking it, I look up to. Whether they've accomplished something or not, the fact that they believe in themselves and they believe in their idea that much, that deserves respect, in my opinion. And
what about your mentors? Who are the people who've helped you the most in your career?
Yeah,
in your life?
Yeah, so I would probably go back and look at somebody like Russell Rhodes. He's given me this. Sometimes we'll have problems, or not a problem, but sometimes we'll have ideas. And those of you that are familiar with a DISC test, I'm a 99D, 89C. And so sometimes I can get bogged down in the details and I'll overthink things. I remember there was a problem I was having with Myers for, 2 months. And I went to Russell and explained the problem, and he gave me a solution within 4 minutes that was absolutely just the most simple thing I'd ever heard. And sometimes people can just bounce an idea back and you hear it a little differently and you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So I would say Russell Rhodes is a pretty predominant mentor of mine.
Awesome, man. And as far as investing goes, what advice do you have for brand new investors if they're coming to Myers?
Okay.
What would be that process?
So with new investors, the biggest piece of advice is learn how to evaluate real estate. That's super important because it doesn't matter what your broker, it doesn't matter what a wholesaler or anybody else is telling you. If the numbers don't make sense to you, you should not invest. Definitely go in being careful, but I would say that would probably be my biggest thing. The other thing is never pay contractors in advance. I've learned my lesson on that one.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple times. So.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson on that one as well.
Yeah.
They'll run out of budget. Yeah, that's been a challenge. So as far as your favorite investment strategy, are you a flipper or buy and hold or?
Okay, so this is what I teach my team. Buy and hold makes way more financial sense than flipping. Flipping is great, but what I think a lot of investors don't realize, and somebody, a buddy of mine, Jason Medley, he actually used this, and it made a lot of sense. Right now, the market's going up. Mm-hmm. And so when, let's say, investor John Smith goes out and starts flipping a property, he's making a lot of mistakes. Chances are. But he doesn't realize it. And he won't realize it until the market crashes, because the market's making up for his losses. You know, you see all these gurus coming out and selling their training and their coaching. I want to see one of those guys who made a profit in the recession.
Yeah.
I want to see those guys who were genuinely crushing it when the market was at its worst. Those are the people I would pay for mentorship. And I have friends that did, and I have friends that are coaches, and they do really well. They have some amazing training, but some of the guys out there selling themselves aren't what they seem. They think they're good, but that's just because they haven't learned how to be good in a bad time yet, because that's a whole different challenge.
Yeah, I don't actually want to talk about that. During the recession, you were in real estate, mm-hmm. and I want to see how you overcame that, because being in real estate in 2007, 2008, 2009, that was like the beginning of your career, mm-hmm. and you were building and different things like that. Yep. How did that go for you?
Oh, that was hard. That was very hard. It was hard on a couple of different fronts. One, getting business was great, but actually having the ability to transact, that made it difficult, right? So somebody would say, hey, I want to sell my house. Great. Would you pay for it? Well, I paid X. So unfortunately, it's worth Y, which is significantly lower than X. So we had to get creative. We had to learn how to get showings on properties. We had to learn how to properly price the homes to where in a competitive market, we were still able to sell it, and managing expectations. You know, a lot of agents, they go out and they want to get listings. They think listings, get the listing, but that's not the way I like to do business. I focus on making sure that I'm giving the proper information to a client. If I go out and tell a client what they wants to hear just to get their listing, I'm not doing them a service. I'm doing them a disservice, if anything, and it will cost them money. Mm-hmm. So we got really good at being blunt and saying, look, this is what the statistical probability will happen. Now, were there anomalies? Were we wrong? Absolutely, at times. But overall, you know, we just told people the truth. And that was huge. That was big, because a lot of the clients, I just talked to one about an hour ago, 7 years ago, we sold her property, and we're about to sell her property again, and her big thing was, you were honest and upfront and blunt, and she even mentioned that today. 7 years later, she mentioned that she could appreciate how honest I was when we met. That's huge.
Yeah, that is. I mean, especially like when it's a downturn, there's a lot of, you know, vultures out there, you know mm-hmm. what I mean? And I think it's our duty as agents to give them all the options, mm-hmm. you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whether it is, you know, getting a cash offer for your house, mm-hmm. like what Myers does, or whether it's listing it on the retail side, mm-hmm. We have to give them all the options versus just, you know, hey, this is what you should do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And since you were in that downturn, and did you know like this was gonna be like the worst thing ever, or what?
No. I remember when the banks started going under. Honestly, I was so new, and I kind of appreciate that, because, you know, if that happened again today, I can't say that, and it was back then, if I knew then what I know now, I can't say that I would have continued trying to push through it. I think a lot of what got me through the recession was ignorance to what it actually was. Mm-hmm. And so therefore I never acknowledged it. And plus I'm a big believer of nobody outside of me can control my future, no matter what. Whether we're in a recession, whether I'm living on the streets, nobody has control over where I go or what path I choose to take and how well I perform on said path. So I don't know that it would affect me now like it would have then, but I was just so focused on making sure I did everything right that, you know, was it tough? Yeah, but I kind of thought it was normal. I thought, you know, real estate being tough was the way it was supposed to be. And you know, real estate is tough if you're challenging yourself, if you're trying to grow, if you're trying to build something huge.
Yeah, and like, say like the next downturn comes, how are you going to be prepared for that as far as that? Because like you've been in it before, and that sort of recession will probably never happen again. So how do you recognize that opportunity like in the future? Like when people were buying apartment buildings in 2008, 2009, and they're selling their buildings today, they're making huge money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how I want to know like what you would do like in the next recession, because we're in the real estate business and we definitely have enough opportunities to help people become wealthy in real estate. So I want to see how you're going to recognize that next opportunity and what you're going to do during that next time that's coming. So
I constantly think about that, and I think you should. I absolutely think you should always think about it, regardless of what industry you're in. I'm constantly considering the what ifs. In the event the market were to shift, all that has to change is how we do business. So, for example, one of the things we did last time was we did short sales. Again, I didn't really realize the market I was in, but short sales, that was where business was, so that's just what we did. So we've got plans, I guess, fail-safe strategies for how we generate revenue, how we operate. You know, part of our whole, I guess, loss mitigation strategy is the expansion. So by expanding, that gives us the ability to see more opportunity faster and to take control of an opportunity if we see it. So, you know, like for example, Harvey, we had been planning to go to Houston for 6-7 months, and Harvey hit right before we actually opened our office in October there. And, you know, we decided, okay, we can pull out, call an audible, and go to our other market, which we're going to be going into, or we can stick with it. And the reason I wanted to stick with it was really so that way I had boots on the ground, able to seize large opportunities in that market. Whereas I wouldn't be able to do that from Dallas. I mean, I could, but I'm not ensuring the success by doing it here. By having somebody there, they can go out, look at it, evaluate it, and see if it's worth our time. So.
Awesome, man. And let's see. What does your daily activities look like now?
Okay. It's a great question. So I come into the office, I come in much later than I used to. I come in at 9. First thing I do is I start going through my emails. I respond to anything that's urgent. After that, I meet with the presidents of our various divisions, go over what they're tackling, what they have for the day, do meetings, look at opportunities, look at the numbers. I'm constantly paying attention to certain metrics, certain KPIs to determine how well we're doing. Honestly, my life is way more boring than it used to be when I used to be out in the field a lot more. Now I'm sitting in my office planning and breaking stuff and fixing it and, you know, trying to come up with ideas and figure out how we're going to add 60 people this year. So.
Yeah, and you know, since you've built so much, like, what continues to motivate you? Because you've had all the success, right? And for some people, once they reach a certain point, they start to cool off. But I've never seen you cool off, ever. Like, when I started here at Keller Williams in 2015, you more than doubled your business. I saw it. Like, so what drives you every day?
Winning. Somebody asked me this question last week, and I want to win. Money doesn't motivate me at all. And that was something huge. And I think I've discussed this with you, is when the moment I realized that money would never make me happy, and I detached net worth from self-worth and stopped making decisions because of money, that was the moment that our business started to grow. Now I'm motivated by building leaders, by building opportunity, by going down a different path. So that stuff gets me up in the morning. The money you get, I've been very blessed, and it's been great, but the money becomes the norm. So, if you're used to getting $5,000 checks every single month, and then you get a $10,000 check, you're excited. But then if you become used to getting $10,000 and you get $5,000, you're disappointed, right? Mm-hmm. So money becomes normal. So the biggest piece of advice I've ever given anybody, and a lot of people don't understand what I mean by this, but don't make decisions out of money. If you make decisions out of a bigger why, a bigger vision, you'll make money. The money is a result. It's not the decision.
Yeah.
It's a result of action.
And how do you balance your work life, your family life, social life at the level you are at now in your business?
It's a great question. I will be honest, I am the worst person to look at for this answer. It's family and work. I don't have much of a social life outside of them. I say that yesterday I went skeet shooting with some of the guys on the team. So, but family is difficult because I do work so much. So there's certain things that we have to do. When I'm present with the family, I have to be present with the family. Not on my phone, not sending emails, just focused on them and making sure that the time that I'm spending with my daughter is all about her. And that's difficult. That's really difficult. And I still have a ton to learn in that space. And then when I'm, here at work, I'm focused on it. I'm very fortunate because my work schedule, the way I operate now, is very different than 5 years ago or 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was dealing heavily, much more than I now with clients. And so that made it very difficult for me to have time doing anything else because my phone was constantly ringing. So mm-hmm. I'd go to an event and I'd just be on the phone the whole time. And there's still days when that happens. Things still come up, but it's definitely not as bad as it used to be. So that I'm improving. I'm showing some growth there.
Yeah. And what do you like to do for fun outside of real estate?
Fish, travel, skiing, fish, travel, and probably fish. Well, and I shoot skeet, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember he told me your fisherman.
Yeah.
Your fisherman dream.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I'll do next is a charter fishing business. I'll post it on Facebook so y'all can book a trip.
So that's his next venture. So make sure you keep it up for
absolutely.
That. And if you had to start your business from scratch in 2018, what would you do and what would you do differently?
So what I would do differently is I would focus more on the client experience. I think anybody's lying if they tell themselves that the real estate industry is not changing, especially from an agent broker standpoint. The client experience has to be the focus, though, of today's real estate agents. Otherwise, their real estate agents as a whole are going to kill themselves. The industry is gonna go away. So many people get into this business and they think that real estate agents are rich because they see the size of our checks. What they don't realize is that the average real estate agent has to wait 4 months for that check. So the client experience, the customer's experience is absolutely critical. Also, if I had to start over, the big thing that I have now is I'm a lot better at hiring. Still not perfect, but I'm definitely a lot better than I used to be. So those two things was kind of what I would focus on.
And as far as like the investment side or the retail side, what would you focus on more if it was 2018?
It's a great question. I don't know. If I had to do it all over again, it would be very different than the way I did it. And it's not necessarily because I made bad decisions. It's more along the lines of circumstance, right? So this market 2018 is very different than the market was. What year was that? 2006. Mm-hmm. that I got into real estate. So the way I would do it would be drastically different. Which one would I focus on? I couldn't say I would focus on one more than the other, but what I will say is I would only focus on one thing at a time. So I would not do both simultaneously. I think that's a huge flaw. I see real estate agents out there posting pictures of their flips, and then they take pictures next to clients. I think they're making a dire mistake. I think you master one thing and then you add the other.
Yeah.
But
awesome. And what does your vision look like for your life and your business 5 years from now?
Okay, so our real estate company is one thing that's really big about our company is we're very tech based, and over the next 5 years we're going to become even more tech based. So we have an engineering team, we have proprietary software that allows us to move much faster than our competitors. Over the next 5 years, our company will become a technology company that happens to be in real estate. We will not do things in the same capacity or the same manner, I guess, as other real estate agents or real estate investors. We're going to bring a tech piece to it that's different than what everybody else has done, because it allows us to scale and track what's going on in the market in real time. That's stuff that other companies just don't have. Everybody's focused on, oh, let's get chat bots. This chat bot will talk to my visitors on my website. That chat bot isn't going to pick you up clients, let's be honest. Sure, will they create dialogue? Absolutely. But you could have a real person there talking to them as well. So we're focused on technology that matters, I guess.
Awesome. And what was the biggest failure and lesson you've learned in your real estate career and in your life?
That's a great question. I should have thought more on that one. Biggest failure, I would say, in real estate career was, and I can't even say it was like, oh, I hired bad people. It was just not hiring people for the right job. I have had a lot of great people that used to be with us that aren't with us anymore, but it wasn't because they were bad. It was because I put them in the wrong position. So that's a failure that I've seen for a long period of time. The second, I'm going to throw two in there just because I have like 10. The second one is I should have built my business originally off of customer experience. I should have focused on making sure that that client knew they came first. And we do now, but in the beginning, that would have been a much different business, much different strategy, I guess.
Awesome. And what is the biggest thing holding you back right now for you to get to the next level?
People. I need people. So as I said earlier, I'm hiring 60 people. If you're in Houston, Dallas, or Columbus, Ohio, please reach out. I need solid people, leaders. We just need great people to join our team. So that's what I need. That's the one thing that's holding me back. It's a challenge.
Is great people. So I have a lot of people in Houston. So reach out to me. I can connect you with Josh if you're looking for a career in real estate. And then I guess we can just go and answer some questions that they have on here.
Let's see what kind of questions we got. Let's see here. Biggest shark I ever caught, Corey. I don't know. It had to be at least, 1,500 pounds. No, I'm kidding. 8 foot. What's my why? Okay. Corey, my why, which is great. It's a great question. My why is to build opportunity for others and to build something that lasts longer than myself. And that is absolutely what drives me to my core. The more successful the people that are with me are, the more successful I am. So my focus is making them successful and the people that they work with successful, and so on and so forth. Let's see. Thanks, Tony.
Oh,
yeah.
I want to know this as well.
Okay, on the investment side, do we do owner financing? No, we do not currently. I like owner financing. A good buddy of mine does do owner financing. It's a solid strategy. In fact, I have no qualms with it. It's just not, we have our hands in quite a few different things at the moment. So it's something that we're not going to pay attention to at this time. But I think owner financing is very, very smart. There's an argument to be made that owner financing is smarter than rental properties. I don't believe it because of my circumstance, but it absolutely could be. Let's see.
And if you're still watching this, make sure you comment more questions so we can answer them. I have one from Billy. What's your value proposition for people that you bring into your world? In other words, why should they want to work with you?
Okay, that's a phenomenal question. Okay, a couple of different things. One is, I don't want this to be a job. So when people come in to work with us, I want to build their future. I want to teach people, and I want them to create amazing lives for their family. In my image, if I do that, they will stay there forever. As long as I focus on making sure other people win, they will absolutely stay with me forever. That's value proposition number one. That's really the reason people should join. Now, can I say that they always do? No. We're getting a new office. It has this giant balcony. We have a new, very tech-inspired workspace that we're going to be opening up. We have tools and systems that nobody else around has. So that's the other unique selling proposition, I guess, that's a little bit shinier. But the real reason, if somebody wanted to come work for us, the real reason they should is because of their future.
Awesome. That was a great question. Let's see what else we have on here. Let's see Jerry here.
Thanks, Corey. I appreciate it, buddy. How do you handle crucial conversations when you have someone that has been with you for a long time and a standard isn't met? Okay. Jerry, this is a phenomenal question. I wish I could add JT to this because he would have some amazing insight as well. I did a really bad job of setting expectations in the first place. So it's my fault for not laying out very specific, clearly defined A plus B equals C. It was kind of ambiguous and, hey, this is your job, do this, and, just do a little bit of that and you'll figure it out. So number one, you have to make sure you're setting the proper expectation. Number two is when somebody makes a mistake or they're not hitting the numbers they need to hit, you need to reevaluate their why. Why is it important for them to hit the numbers that you want to hit or that they want to hit or both of you have decided to, or the metrics rather. And you have to determine that that's, of course, authentic. And then you really just got to sit down and figure out, hey, where's the breakdown? You're not hitting the expectations that we've set together. What do you think should happen? A lot of times people will come up with punishment or what they need to do. Oh, I need to go get on the phone and make 20 more calls per day. Fantastic. How bad somebody wants to achieve whatever that why is will determine if they actually do what they need to in order to achieve that goal. Most people say, oh, here's what I need to do, and then they go and get sidetracked and then they don't do it, therefore they never get the goal, right? They never hit the expectations you wanted in the first place. And at the end of the day, if somebody's not right and you've set the expectations and they're not hitting it, and you've tried to build them, coach them through it, and help them become better, and they're still not better, then that person's probably not right for your team, and you did a bad job hiring them. So.
Awesome. Let's see what else we got on here. Please make sure I'll comment y'all's questions. We want to make sure we answer every single one of y'all's questions on here.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, buddy. Okay. Billy, another great question. What lead source or metric should agents focus on the most to have a massive business like yours? Okay, so the answer that I would give somebody at equal production or close to my production is different than the answer I would give somebody who is selling $1 million a year. And the reason is because as you grow in business, you have you hit different barriers, and they require different actions to get through said barriers. So I don't know what the production looks like there, but what I would say is focus on mastering one lead source at a time. One thing. You don't have to go and try and reinvent the wheel. Just focus on mastering, whether it's calling FSBOs, calling expireds, calling for referrals, doing whatever. Just focus on that one little thing 100% of your time. And once you get that big enough, and you've got an admin or you've got somebody to help you manage everything, then you start tacking on your second piece. Then you tack on your third piece, and that's how you grow. So many times I see people try to do Zillow, cold calling, this, and they're only doing all of these things at 30% capacity. I would much rather do one thing at 100% capacity than 30 at 10. So that's absolutely critical. And as far as a metric, what I would actually pay attention to, I would look at probably the most important one that I could say relates throughout is leads to client ratio. So if I generate 10 leads and I have one client, the cost for the 10 leads costs me X. What's my cost per sale? Cost per is really important to me. It gets more and more important the bigger you get, because a lot of the business you start to generate comes from advertising, whether it's television or radio or massive direct mail campaigns, massive internet campaigns. That changes and it becomes more difficult to monetize or to track your KPIs. So the biggest one I would look at is how many leads are you generating and how many sales does that equate to? Okay, let's see. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so Corey, for newer agents, what is the one thing I would recommend to be most important? Systems or marketing? Absolutely marketing, except actually I would not say marketing. So many times I see new people go out and they spend money on marketing. Look, here's the deal. If you can't generate business without spending money, you're going to have a hell of a time generating business, spending money, and keeping that business, right? So you should really do what gets you the highest ROI first before ever spending money. Let's see. Can you name one person with a better beard than Ronny? I don't know. It's pretty good though. It's pretty good. That thing is as full as it comes.
Great question, Billy.
Okay, Corey again. One of the biggest obstacles. What has been one of the biggest obstacles, and how did you overcome it in the investing side? Okay, so being young. You said it. Besides being young, again, hiring, I would say, was probably the biggest obstacle.
Because you started at 24, right?
Mm-hmm.
DFW?
Investing, yeah. Actually, I was probably 25. So, okay. The biggest obstacle, I would say, really came down to my why. That's probably actually the biggest one, is really defining my why. And I don't mean to repeat myself here, but like, yeah, there is no secret. success is in the things that I keep talking about, I feel like, and your why is absolutely critical. If your why is not in line, you're never going to achieve greatness, period. You won't. I don't know anybody who has achieved greatness who doesn't have a solid why. I know a lot of people who have achieved very remarkable things. So that's definitely what I would ask, or that's how I would comment. Let's see. I think that's it, man. I don't see any other questions.
Okay.
Instead of wholesaling, why wouldn't you pick up some of the properties for you to flip? Is it because wholesaling is duplicatable and can scale better? Jerry, another great question. I have a lot on my plate, so we will flip homes from time to time, but it was more cumbersome managing really three things: wholesaling, flipping, and our retail sales business. So we decided to focus on wholesaling and our retail sales business for now. Flips are something I do on the side personally. So, who are my coaches and mentors? Russell Rhodes, I had mentioned that. He's probably the biggest person that's mentored me. And then most of the knowledge I get is just talking with people like you. I learn a lot from many people. There's not one person I would say who is directly responsible for said outcome. I talk to anybody in my network. 3 weeks ago we had Rob Dekansky. He's one of the top 5 RE/MAX agents in the country. He came in to Dallas, hung out with our team. We actually hopped on a bus. I think he was nervous because I think he thought we were getting on a Greyhound. It wasn't a Greyhound. We hopped on this, it's called Vaughn Lane. It's like a luxury bus, and that's how I get back and forth from Houston to Dallas. And we hopped on a bus. We went down to the Houston office. He got to hang with us. I learned a massive amount from Rob, and I'm constantly networking with people who know this business and who know the trials and tribulations that we all face. And that's what I think everybody should do. I wouldn't say listen to one person all the time, because that can also lead to bad decisions if that person's not giving you good advice. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else?
Yeah, I think we're good.
And okay, so last question. What can my audience do to support you?
Okay. The biggest thing is we need people. We need salespeople, licensed, unlicensed. We've got an awesome program for getting licensed. If you're not already licensed, I need talented people to join our company. That is absolutely the biggest thing. Now, second thing is if you have a property you want to sell, give the guys at Myers a call. If it's an investment property, we'd absolutely love to earn your business, and we work with real estate agents. And yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you leave comments below. We'll still be answering all the questions on there, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna put a link in the comments, and if you have any questions or anything like that, please let us know. Once again, I'm Ronny Phillip with the Kingly Group at Keller Williams Realty. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ronny.
Take care.